Well, welcome back to the Rediscover the 80s podcast and another Rankum episode where we count down our favorites from the 1980s. I am your host, Jason Gross, and I'm proud to welcome a brand new guest to the Rediscover the 80s podcast. He is a connoisseur of 80s cartoons and especially the villain characters. He is Brian Cave of oldschoolevil.com. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, nice to be on here with you and talk about our favorite cartoons and all that.
Yeah, you are definitely the expert behind the 80s cartoons and such. You have your website there, oldschoolevil.com. For those of you who might not know you want to tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the website?
Well, originally Old School Evil is a book that I'm writing about cartoon villains. And I ended up making the blog to kind of go over all the villains of the cartoons that I watched and all the villains that I missed to look at like how what made them villains, how crazy they were, how dumb they were sometimes. And so I just talk about cartoon villains and sometimes regular cartoon stuff and have a good time with it.
Yeah, it's really fun. For those of you who haven't checked him out, it's at oldschoolevil.com, and he's also on Twitter. And you do a little bad guy beatdown once in a while where you pit two of those villains against each other and you vote for those. Those are pretty fun.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm running a nice tournament with all the villains fighting. I got 32 villains altogether, and I'm a little over halfway through the first tier of it. I just finished up Metlar versus Krulos from the Inhumanoids and Dino Riders.
Those are they're deep pulls on that. Those villains there. You have to second or maybe even second or third tier there for at least from the popular ones, from the 80s and such.
Yeah, I got a lot more popular ones, but some of the more obscure ones are really fun to write. So.
Right. Don't get to hear about those every day.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, our subject for this episode of Rankum is 80s cartoons, in particular the theme songs. And Brian and I are part of this, I guess you'd call retro Twitter club, if you don't happen to follow us over there. But we are doing a good bit of social sharing on various topics, and we have several of our what I would call retro peers involved with that. And one subject came up in particular that kind of hit a note with both of us, and that is our favorite retro cartoon theme songs. And we got kind of in a somewhat heated battle, maybe you a little bit more than me, with Dave over at the Bonsai Retro Club. Mainly over his affinity for Bionic 6 and our fandom, or at least my fandom, over Mask. What was your kind of takeaway from that?
That he has no good taste. It's not a bad theme. It's got really bad narration right in the middle of it for no reason. But yeah, he doesn't know a good theme when he hears it.
Well, we went back and forth a little bit on Twitter, and Dave decided to do an entire podcast about his favorites and why they are right and we are so wrong. So Brian and I, we just decided to come together and do our top 5 here right on the Rediscover the 80s podcast, and basically simply lay out our reasons behind the ones that we chose. And, I always love these Rankum shows because I like to lay out this little disclaimer that these are our personal favorites and not necessarily the ultimate authority in the universe. So in essence, maybe we're trying to take the high road here from Dave. But if you want to listen to Dave's, I guess you would say, heavy-handed podcast, please go over to the Bonsai Retro Club and check that out. And he's got his top 5 list over there. But we're going to lay out our top 5 choices tonight. And I guess before we get into that, what are you looking for, Brian, in a cartoon theme? Do you have like certain little things you're listening for, or what kind of formulated your top 5?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that I liked is music that really got me pumped up for the show that I'm watching. And I mean, if it doesn't have that real excitement into it, I'm just not going to be interested. And next, I really wanted one that kind of told the story of the show. And,
Mm-hmm.
so you can go into the show without really worrying about what's going on.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was kind of thinking too along the lines of, can it be performed live, or would you pop it in a an MP3 player now, Walkman back in the day, and listen to so I'm looking for that. It's got to be kind of catchy, like you're saying, but it's also got to tie into the show and tell you a little bit about the show.
Mm-hmm.
There's some out there that I'll just throw one out there. How about the GoBots, where it's basically just some music and GoBots, the whole time. There's no
Oh, yeah.
real meat to it.
Yeah, those are
So
terrible.
that's even though I love the GoBots, and that's a whole other podcast, but the theme was just not. It's just more of a repetitious kind of a song, and
Yeah.
doesn't really lay out a story, like we were talking about. But anyway, so that's kind of, I guess, where we're coming from with these lists, and I'll let you go first. I guess before we start, Brian did lay out his top 5 over on his website, so if you want to, you can check that out there. But we're going to reveal them here on the show tonight. So what was your number 5 choice for the top 1980s cartoon themes?
My number 5 was the Mighty Orbots. And it was a cartoon. It only lasted about one season. 5 robots that become a giant robot. And the opening of the show had a nice theme to it, but I think one of the best things about it is it had this awesome narration by Gary Owens in the beginning that laid out the entire show, and then you had nice music. I really don't like cartoons that just have the narration, like He-Man and She-Ra, but combined well with the song, it's awesome. So I think the Mighty Orbots one was really cool, and yeah.
That's a pretty good choice. It's one of those shows that totally missed me as a kid,
Yeah,
and
same here.
just in the the last several years, listening to the theme and catching some clips and stuff on YouTube, I've got to know it a little bit more. But I kind of liken that, like what you were saying. Another one that I really enjoyed as a kid was Voltron, and you got that awesome narration by Peter Cullen at the beginning, Mr. Optimus Prime, and then it kind of flows more into the music, but it's just essentially an instrumental, and he comes back in, I believe, at the end to say a few more words. But
Yeah, I think so.
if we're counting down the theme songs, I wouldn't necessarily call that a song.
Yeah,
But
luckily Orvot still has that really good music after the narration.
right, it does. Okay, well, that's a great choice.
Okay.
Number 5, I'm going with Disney's Adventures of the Gummy Bears.
Oh yeah, I knew Disney was still up somewhere on this list.
That I loved the show as a kid, and it wasn't until just a few years ago that I kind of did some research on it. I think it was mainly for for my website, but learned that the song is sung by Joseph Williams, who is the son of John Williams, the composer of
Wow.
Star Wars and everything. Yes.
Oh,
So I love that little connection there, at least for connection now that they're Disney, Star Wars. But interesting little tidbit there that his son, and he actually sang. He was the lead singer for a while for Toto back in the mid '80s.
Oh yeah.
just for a couple years, kind of I think around 86 and 88, maybe like 2 or 3 albums that they had there. But great theme song. And again, it just kind of tells that story, and it's got the catchy, chorus, catchy hook of they are the gummy bears, and
Oh yeah, those are one of those earworms that get in your head and then stay there for like a day at a time. And
right,
yeah,
right. So I always enjoyed that song, and um, again, it's one that I can hear somebody do live, or on a soundtrack in your car
oh yeah.
going down the highway.
Now,
So,
would you say that's the best Disney soundtrack song, or?
well, that was the highest one ranked on my list. Actually, no, I take that back. There is another Disney one on here.
Oh, okay.
Um, but it's, yeah, between the other one that I have on here and that one, I think those are we're going to be the two highest for me, at least, on Disney.
Okay.
But they do, I mean, even with their, like modern shows and stuff, they've always had a big production, it seems, for the theme songs. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
good heritage there, going back to their movies, and music soundtracks from Snow White, and all the way back to there. But anyway, all right, well, let's get to your number 4 pick.
My number 4 was Count Duckula, and this one I might have picked it more for the narration in the beginning. Again, I don't know who did the narration, but it's got a nice Christopher Lee kind of feel, Vincent Price,
It
and
does.
but the music at the end is so different from the narration that it always makes me laugh hearing them sing about Count Duckula. So
Yeah, that's another one that missed me. Surprisingly, back in the 80s when I was a kid, as much as I loved DuckTales and Launchpad, you know,
mhm.
somewhat of a crossover there. So I never really got into Count Duckula.
Yeah, that was one of the older Nickelodeon ones, I think, with Danger Mouse, and yeah, it was way different than anything else I ever watched as a kid, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's a fun song at the beginning. It's very Vincent Price, or even like you said, Christopher Lee. I mean, that's a great setup for the show, and the overall kind of theme.
Hmm.
So great choice there. All right, my number 4. And as I'm researching this, I wrote this one down. I didn't think it was going to make the list, but after listening to it a couple times again, I was like, this is fun. This is a fun song.
Hmm.
I might like it better than the actual television series. And that would be the theme song from Alf, the animated series.
Oh, I can't
And
say I even remember that one.
it's got this kind of 50s doo-wop feel to it. And I don't know, I just love the cartoon series as much as I love the television series too. But I watched the cartoon. I remember watching that, and it's just this kind of snap your fingers, Gordon, and I don't know. It just kind of set up his whole existence on Melmac in that whole cartoon, and very very catchy.
Oh, I'll have to go try
Stuck
that
in
one
your
out.
head. Yeah, go listen to that one uh, when you can. But it brings back a lot of memories of watching cartoons on Saturday morning when I hear that show, hear that song. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's got that kind of 50s kind of feel to it, and love it, love it.
Awesome.
So that's number 4. We are up to number 3 now on your list.
Number 3, I put down Mask, and who doesn't love that soundtrack?
No kidding.
I love just as soon as you hear the music and you see those wireframe animations. I mean, I know I'm in for a good song and a great cartoon. Even if I can't understand half of the stuff they say near the end of it.
I did see that in your blog post. Uh, I will talk about this more later. Let's put it that way.
All right.
But it's a great pick, and again, it's one that we kind of went back and forth with on Twitter with Dave about, and I could not believe that he didn't think this was at least worthy of a top 5 list.
Exactly. Yeah, I think this is the one he crapped on the most, and it deserves the least of that.
I agree. Definitely agree. But like I said, I'll go into a little bit more detail later.
Okay.
Number 3 for me, which I believe was on Dave's list, is the Thundercats theme. And this one, it always works when you can put your catchphrase into the song, but it's got that weird kind of synthesizer at the beginning and even throughout the song. And it's hard to imagine the whole opening sequence. A lot of these is going to be like that, when you hear the song. But
Oh yeah.
I was huge into the Thundercats, and that theme, when you just hear it, it's not one like when I go back now and we'll watch a series. Sometimes you end up skipping through the theme, to get the episode started. That was one I would never touch.
Oh yeah.
On my DVD set, I'm going to listen to that full at the beginning and at the ending credits too. I want to hear that song.
Yeah, not to mention that that's some of the best animation that shows up in cartoons.
I would agree.
Unfortunately, most of the episodes don't match that, but
Yeah, some are. It's like pretty much like any series. There's going to be some stinkers of episodes out there, but
oh yeah, a fantastic.
Yeah, no, and one that I've passed along to my kids too. I've been a few shows that I've been able to introduce them to, or maybe subject them to more than others, and that they actually enjoy watching. And I think the Thundercats and that theme has something to do with it. That they like that. But okay, we got a couple more to go here. What is your number 2, sir?
My number 2, Lightning Strikes, Jason the Wheeled Warriors.
Oh man,
that is such an awesome theme there, and I love the fact that the Cybertronic Spree has actually done that in some of their shows, and it's just such a perfect theme for them to cover and everything. So,
have you ever seen them live, Cybertronic Spree?
I wish. I know they usually do stuff out on the East Coast, and I never get out there. So,
I got to see them at RetroCon last year.
Yeah, I saw your post. I was really jealous.
Oh my gosh. And to hear them do Jason the Wheeled Warriors, and RC, she just wails on that song when you're hitting those high notes right there, in the chorus when they're doing the back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. And again, it's one of those that you think of, oh, this could totally be on the radio. It's got that, it's got that awesome sound, rock sound, and I love it. And
if I heard that one on the radio, I wouldn't even connect it with a cartoon at first. I think it's some awesome rock ballad,
Right. It's one of those too. I'm going through these, trying to formulate a list, and you think of some of these themes, and some of the themes are almost as good, or if not even better, than the actual show themselves.
Oh yeah.
I haven't ever gone through and watched the whole 65 episodes of Jason the Wheeled Warriors, but that theme is enough for me, I guess, to have to do that.
Yeah,
it's just so good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that even had a good narration in the beginning that wasn't, boring or anything like that. But just the lightning strikes, and then you hear the music.
Yeah.
It's such an awesome point right there.
Very good. Very good. Okay. My number 2, this was my other Disney. I went with DuckTales.
Oh yeah. I kind of figured as soon as you said that,
DuckTales. Again, that that hook, the chorus, the woohoo,
Mhm.
that gets stuck in your brain, and it could be, I guess, more annoying to people than more appreciative. But looking back at it now, and then the new show, the reboot that they've done, and
Oh
keeping
yeah.
that theme. There's a lot of shows when you reboot or when you try to do something different, they totally go a whole different direction, and it tells me something that they kept the same song. You think of like Voltron, they went with a whole new theme, for the show, which I still love the new theme, but
Yeah.
the lasting effect of DuckTales, when you hear that song, you just like, okay, I'm here, I'm in Duckburg, and it's just a great song. And again, this one, it's got some good people that wrote it and sung it. Jeff Pescudo,
Hmm.
he did several soundtracks like back in the 80s, like License to Kill and Honey I Shrunk the Kids, and so there's some good heritage there behind that. And the writer, I can't remember the writer's name off the top of my head, but he was nominated for like 2 or 3 awards for songwriting and had several uh, top 10 hits on the pop chart that he wrote back then. So lots of good heritage behind the song and the people that come up with it.
That's a great
Uh,
pedigree.
yeah. So DuckTales, yep, it's had to go with that at number 2.
Awesome.
And your number 1, sir, what was the top of your list?
My number one was No Guts, No Glory from The Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers. And this song, I read about this a little while ago that this cartoon originally was supposed to have its own soundtrack album.
Uh-huh.
And this song obviously would be their big hit on there. But it makes sense to me that this song would have such would be focused on so much because it
Mm-hmm.
again it seems like a song that I would hear on the radio. I mean, it seems like it could be in any '80s movie out there, like Lethal Weapon or anything, and it would be
Right.
it would be a perfect fit for that. So for a cartoon to get that was just awesome to me.
Yeah. Great sound. Again, another one that totally missed me. I was it a full like 65 episode run?
65 episodes, and I didn't find it until last year too. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I totally missed this one also.
Yeah, a lot of these in like syndication or first run syndication, you didn't get on the peak times like Saturday morning. Some you got, after school on
Hmm.
the weekdays, but that's, it was dominated by Transformers and GI Joe. But
Oh yeah.
a lot of these, even Mask, I think when I remember watching Mask was on like the USA Cartoon Express in the afternoons. So
Yeah, I think
it's a
that's
little
right.
hit or miss if you had cable or if you didn't have cable. A lot of those afternoon shows like Transformers and GI Joe were like on your local stations too. So it wasn't like you had to have cable to catch some of these shows. So yeah, I have not gone through the series. At some point, I will.
Yeah.
And based on the theme song, yeah, it's just wow. It's a
Yeah.
great theme.
There's one episode there where the Galaxy Rangers actually play the song in a concert, and it was really cool seeing it show up like actually in the middle of an episode and everything, and see them playing their futuristic instruments and everything. So
Gotcha.
very cool.
Yeah, that's definitely one. Well, even your last 2 picks, I would love to see Cybertronic Spree
Oh yeah,
tackle.
I actually thought my first 3 picks there, if they made it into a medley, would just be the most awesome thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I've already submitted a couple things to them, but one of them is my number 1 pick, which
Mm.
is Mask.
Yeah.
Um, Such a huge fan of Mask, and the fact that okay, so you get this theme song. It tells a little bit about it. Mask doesn't have a true origin. The origin came from the comics, so you
Yeah.
really didn't get that in the cartoon, and you really didn't get that in the theme. But there's enough there to tell you, okay, what's going on in the world of Mask versus Venom.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a like 3.5 minute extended version of the song that goes
Really?
into a whole other verse, yeah, about Venom.
Oh, that I haven't heard.
So yeah, you got to check that out. That's over there on YouTube. And being the Mask fan and collector that I am, I have seen. I do not own. I would love to own it just for the fact that it exists. But over in France, whoever covered the song, like the French version of Mask that they showed on television, and they sung it in French, they released it on a 45 record single.
Whoa.
So I the mere fact that that exists, that it's on a record somewhere, and they were selling these is pretty fascinating to me. Because again, you think of themes, you think of it's Saban and Levy, right? That did all
Yeah.
of they have like hundreds and hundreds of themes under their belt. He-Man and Mask was one of them. I would love to hear the full soundtrack that they used during the cartoon as well.
Oh yeah.
That's a personal preference, but anyway, uh, we had to get at least one song in the top 5 from them because they were just everywhere, and it's amazing how much music they put out in animation in the 80s and 90s and even beyond that. They're filthy rich somewhere, just
Oh yeah.
collecting those those royalty checks
Yeah.
every month.
I don't know if you saw, but Transformers recently came out with they put the score from the cartoon onto vinyl. So
Yes. No, I have seen that the uh, the movie soundtrack too has been on vinyl, and there's been a few companies out there. I think it's La La Land Records. They released the full He-Man soundtrack on CD.
oh wow.
So I've appealed many times to Mr. Saban and Mr. Levy to do the same thing for Mask, but it hasn't happened yet. I don't know. It's probably wishful thinking at this point. But
Oh, that would be
anyway,
awesome. Yeah, though.
those little factors added up to Mask being my top pick for the list, and to say that it doesn't deserve a top 5, even a top 10, is just ludicrous to me.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, so we've gone through our top 5. What are a few honorable mentions, or maybe one honorable mention? We'll go back and forth a little bit on the just kind of missed that top 5.
Well, for me, my first honorable mention was the GI Joe theme, because I mean the theme in the cartoons was okay, but there wasn't a lot of excitement there. But then when you see the GI Joe the movie that has that extended version with the Cobra parts, that was awesome. And I really wish that the cartoon series had even a fraction of that excitement, because nothing can just top how great that movie soundtrack was.
I agree. That 3 minute or 3.5 minutes, whatever it is, at the beginning of GI Joe the movie is like the greatest sequence of animation ever created, and it wouldn't be what it is without that theme.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going back to Cybertronic Spree, that's what they opened with in the concert, is that Cobra theme, and
Yeah.
then before they can get to the GI Joe part of that, that's when they kick it into the Transformers theme, which was hilarious.
Oh yeah.
But I would agree. I put GI Joe as one of my honorable mentions too, for that, and for the the Real American Hero series theme. Unmistakable. You hear that, you're immediately in their world.
Oh yeah.
And I've actually heard a rap album cut to basically the whole soundtrack of GI Joe, all of the other little themes mixed in. So the mere fact that you can do that,
Oh,
and
awesome.
it to sound awesome, that just tells you something right there. So
Oh, yeah. All right.
What's another honorable mention for you?
For me, I could not pick out a favorite Disney cartoon theme. I mean, they're all awesome for the most part. So I gave it just a honorable mention, just all Disney, because I could not pick a best one. I think if you really forced me, I'd probably go with Chippendales Rescue Rangers. But I mean, I acknowledge that they're all fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of effort, a lot of writing. You could tell, put into those themes to get those kids hooked
Oh yeah,
when they hear it, and to be stuck in their brains all day after they watch it.
yeah.
So
It always disappointed me that they had such a great song, but they just took a bunch of clips from the cartoons instead of animating a new intro for any of the shows.
right, yeah, that's a good point because you think about it. Most of them used that. There was a few. Mask was one of them that incorporated a whole new sequence
Hmm.
in there, and even the end credits is a nothing you see in the actual episodes itself. So that's something there too to think
Yeah,
about.
and you got to look at shows like Transformers that had multiple different openings, all fresh animated for them. So,
Yeah, and I thought about that too. They have one pretty much for every season,
hmm,
and even different styles of music. That wasn't just the same theme with a new sequence. But I don't know. Transformers, I just didn't. I was like, it's okay. It's kind of the same thing over and over again, which some of these are that we picked, but
yeah,
uh,
that's true. But yeah, Transformers. I mean, it's good, but nothing stands out in it.
yeah. One of my other honorable mentions, I went with the Muppet Babies. Again, I don't know. Maybe I was just stuck on that '50s doo wop kind of sound, but it sounds like you could intertwine the Muppet Babies theme with the Happy Days theme.
Oh yeah,
Uh, very similar and
yeah.
playful. I don't know.
That is
Again,
one song that still gets stuck in my head
oh
since
yeah.
the day. Like it'll just come in out of nowhere, and I'll just be singing it for a couple hours and wonder what the hell just happened.
Oh, same thing happened all the time. Where did that song come from, and how did it get stuck in my head?
Oh yeah,
Um, all right, any
yeah.
more honorable mentions?
I had one more, and
Okay.
it was actually because of the Cybertronic Spree. There's a song at the end of the Raccoons called "Run with Me" that they cover. That is, it sounds great hearing them sing it. I always want to sing along. I have never once watched that cartoon. It's another one that came from England, I guess, like Danger Mouse and Count Duckula. It never made it to me. I never watched it. I don't want to, but I will listen to that song
Yeah,
day in and day out.
yeah, they did. I remember hearing that one, and the theme from the Droids
Yes.
cartoon as well. It that whole experience, and I'll just plug them to death because it just made the whole weekend that we were at RetroCon going to see them, and it was worth the whatever the admission was, $12 or anyway. It's almost surreal just standing there and hearing all those songs and being able to pull a full concert out of theme songs and essentially the Transformers the movie soundtrack.
Oh
That's
yeah.
their whole set. It's just weird hearing those, and they actually like wail on them. They're full on guitar and screaming and totally in key. Oh my gosh, it was just such a unique experience, and there's nothing like it out there that I've seen
Oh
that
yeah.
matches them as far as '80s themes and music. Man, it was just such a great show, and to hear that and the raccoons,
Yeah. One of these
yeah,
days, I'm
it
gonna.
was it was awesome.
I just have to. That looks so.
Yeah, I think they're based in Canada, so they're they get to the states, on for periods of time, and I think it is mainly East Coast.
Yeah, I think
So
Toronto is where they do most of their shows. But
I actually saw just like last week that somebody put the full concert up from RetroCon from their phone. I tried to do a little snippets, and I did like a 3 or 4 minute video to get everybody the experience. But you can go watch a full concert if you want to, just to see what we're talking about.
yeah, I've watched it. It's just incredible. And the fact that they're doing this while dressed up like Hot Rod and RC and Unicron that just adds to the craziness.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, if it was me, the costumes would be falling apart by the end of the concert, as much headbanging and movement they have.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and to have Rumble back there on the drums, I don't know how he sees, let alone plays. And it's really amazing. So I feel like we've done a Cybertronic Spree podcast more than anything tonight, but
it's worth it. I love those.
Oh, guys. This is fun, man. I've run out of honorable mentions. There was a few more, but I think we'll leave it with that. And again, we hope you will comment and let us know what you think of our lists. Go over and check out Dave's lists on. Maybe we should just get a poll going somewhere. I don't know. See see who comes out on top. But check out everybody's list. Tell us what you think. Leave comments on Rediscover the 80s, on Old School Evil, and we'll see if we can get some feedback and see who is right. No,
Yeah.
No, I see. And again, I don't care about being right, because these are my personal favorites, and nothing anybody else says is going to affect the choices that I make. But
we'll make
anyway. So anyway, I appreciate you coming on, Brian. Again, you're at is it just Old School Evil on Twitter?
At old_school_evil.
Okay, I was thinking there might have been some underscores in there.
Yeah.
So separate the words by underscores. Go follow him on Twitter, and go check out his website. And what's the latest on the book?
I just finished a cover. I'm going to be posting it tomorrow on Twitter to get everyone's opinions of it.
Okay.
I need to do one final edit, and I'm hoping. I've been pushing it back, but I'm hoping that sometime next month I'll have it out in stores. Well,
cool.
On it. So.
Yeah, Amazon is the store, I guess, for stuff like this. But I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun to get your take on it, and especially on all the villains from these wonderful, wonderful animated shows from the 80s that we grew up with. So
thank you very much for having me.
Yes, it's been fun. And again, everybody go check out oldschoolevil.com. And make sure you subscribe and listen to the Rediscover the 80s podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. I think we're pretty much everywhere. So appreciate your feedback, and we will see you next time.
Thank you very much.